Hey guys, how's it going? Today I'm going to show you how to create a progress bar from scratch using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and it's going to look something like this. So I'm going to have the progress bar increment in 25% at a time, and this could be used for so many use cases. Just a couple examples. Say you have multiple API requests you're making and you're waiting for them to for the response to come back. You can increment the progress bar like that, or you can use it for file uploading, which is pretty popular. So any use case you can think of, this is super useful. So let's jump right into the code now. I have Visual Studio Code open here, and I have my three files created: index.html, style.css, and index.js. So I'm going to use Emmet to create my HTML boilerplate. So if I do Shift 1, enter, it'll create the boilerplate. And I'm going to change the title here to progress bar. And I'm going to right click and open this with Live Server. If you guys don't have Live Server, you'll want to download it in the extensions in Visual Studio Code. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is link the CSS and the JavaScript files. So I have script, source, index.js. Okay, so now let's go on to the HTML. So I'm going to create a section here, and this section is going to be the container, the entire container for the progress bar. So we're just going to give this an ID of container, and then we're going to create two divs. So I'm not going to use the HTML progress bar tag because it is very difficult to style it from what I've experienced. So we're going to use two divs and we're going to handle the accessibility ourselves, which is pretty straightforward and simple. And I'll show you guys how to do that. So in our div, we're going to have an ID of progress bar component container. Inside this div, we're going to have a div with an ID. It's going to be progress bar. So this will be the actual progress bar, and we're going to add the role here for accessibility, and we're going to say progress bar, and then we can say aria value max is equal to 100 and aria value min is equal to 0. And then we need one more, which is value now. So inside this div, we are going to have a span. And this span is going to show the percentage within the progress bar. So this will be empty, and we're going to give this an ID of progress percentage. Okay, so that's it for the HTML. Let's jump into the CSS. In the CSS, we're going to give some styling to the container. Let's give a background color of EEE. And let's center this. So we're going to push it down 100 pixels and give a margin of auto. Reduce the width to 50%. And let's give this some padding. Let's do 10%. Okay, so that's the container. Let's do the progress bar container. So this is going to have a background color of 444, and we are going to give this a height of, let's do 50 pixels, and then let's give this a width of 100%, and let's give this a border radius. So before I give that a border radius, so this is how it's going to look like. So I'm going to give this a border radius now of 2M. Okay, and let's reduce the width a little bit. I'm sorry, the height. Now we're going to add some styling to the progress bar. So the progress bar is going to have a height, which is going to inherit from the parent div, which is progress bar container. It's going to have a border radius as well, which is also going to inherit from the progress bar container. And then this is going to have a width of 0%. And then that should be it. And one more thing we're going to add is a background color. And let's just say green. I think that's good user experience. So I'm going to show you guys one thing here. Let's say we had the percentage at 2. So you guys see how that happens? We do not want that. We want to add overflow hidden here. And that way it'll stay contained. Okay. So let's set that back to 0. And one thing I want to also add is when we're increasing the width through JavaScript, we want to add a transition duration. We don't want it to happen instantaneously. Let's give it some smooth flow increase. So that'll look good. And another last thing we want to add is the span, which is the progress percentage. Okay, so in here, let's show you guys how it looks. It'll be easier that way. I'm gonna put this at 10%. Okay, so that's how it looks. So we're gonna add increase the font size. So 1.5 em. Oh. Okay, and then I'm gonna give this position relative so that we can push it down a little. Let's do 8 pixels. Okay, and let's give some padding here to the left. Let's do 5 pixels. And the font size might need to go down a little. Let's go 1.3. And let's change the font color. So color EEE. Okay, there we go. Next thing we want to do is reset these to 0. Get rid of this completely. And we can start using JavaScript to manipulate the progress bar. And one thing I want to add here is if you guys want, you can have a p tag here and you can just say loading, or you can have it within the progress bar, whatever your style is. So I'm just going to give some styling to the p tag, center align it, and increase the font size by 1.5 em. And I'm going to get rid of the margin bottom that comes with the p tag. Okay, so let's go into the JavaScript. So we're going to create a function here, call this start progress. Okay, and this is going to take a parameter of current progress, and this is just going to be 0. So we're going to call this function and pass in 0. Okay, so when this function is called, we're going to do a couple things. So the first thing we want to do is get the HTML tags for the progress bar and the progress percentage. So we can say let progress bar div equal to document.getElement by ID, and we are going to say progress bar, and then we're going to get the progress percentage and set that equal to document.getElement by ID progress percentage. Let me make sure I gave it the same names. Perfect. So now we're going to have a set interval. So we're going to get an interval ID response, returned when we say set interval. And inside set interval, we will have a function which we'll call every second. Okay, so first thing we're going to do in here is increase the current progress. We're going to increase it by, let's do 10%. And we're going to have an if statement here saying if current progress is greater than or equal to 100, we get the current progress to 100. Okay, so now let's update the progress bar. So we can say progress bar div dot style dot width. So what we want to do is just increase the percentage here. So we can say current progress plus we want to add a percentage, because you could add a pixel or something else, which we don't want to do that. And you guys can see that it's already going. Okay, so we also want to add the let's not forget about the accessibility. So I'm going to open up my DOM here, and you can see the value now. So look, what we're going to do is change that as well every time that this progress bar gets updated. So we can say set attribute aria value now, and we're going to set that to current progress. So every time this set attribute is called, if it already exists, it's just going to update it. So that's what we want. And then next thing we want to do is call progress percentage, and we're going to say inner text, and we're going to set that equal to current progress plus percentage. And you guys can see that the ARIA value now is also being increased at the same time the width is being increased. And we're just changing the width inline. I know that I have it in the CSS class. We could, ID. We could change it in here if we wanted to, but I think it's just easier to change it in the inline as well. It makes no difference. So one more thing I want to add to the CSS is in our progress bar, I want to add a text align of center, so that when the progress bar is updating, the text will move also along with it. I think that's good user experience. And that's really all there is to the progress bar. I just wanted to show you guys how to do this from scratch and also